it's exciting to be back on the island, and things are already starting to happen now in terms of the preparations for the America's Cup. Of course, you'd be well aware that some of the teams have already started to the processes to relocate, to find accommodations, and to sort out the operational side of things in terms of establishing their bases here. Oracle Team USA will be sailing their first boat here at the end of April, beginning of May. So a lot of those people have already started the process of finding accommodations and so forth here, relocated to the island. And then I understand that Artemis Racing will be following soon afterwards in terms of relocating here. So pretty soon we'll see some of the new foiling catamarans sailing on the Great Sound and starting to practice here preparations for the finals races. We've of course also got the America's Cup World Series event here in October, and there's been preparations already underway for that, of course. As the event organisation also, the people are in the process of relocating here. I lead that organisation, and we hope to have that operational by early March, and have the bulk of that staff relocated here at least by the end of March. So exciting times ahead. A lot of people, as is typical when the America's Cup moves to a new place, are discovering what's involved throughout this process. So there's probably certain people probably understand that some of those things quite well. Others are learning as they see things happening and see developments. But I think everyone it'll be pretty obvious once these organisations are relocated, in the near future, it'll start to become pretty obvious to all, I think, what can then be expected in 2017. So that's an exciting part. So with that, I don't know whether you've got questions, specific questions. I'm happy to answer.
You talked about people seeing sort of the changes already and the significant planning applications put in. How do you feel the infrastructure side of things is going, and where will it go from here?
Well, I took a trip down to the Docklands a few days ago, actually. I had been to the island many times, but I've never actually driven around it before, so that was educational for me. And there's already work started on that. In fact, it was more progress than what I expected, which is a good thing. I think I certainly have no doubt that the island will get the facilities ready on time and in many ways over-deliver in terms of being able to have those facilities available to the teams and so forth at an early stage. So I was impressed with the work that has already been done. Of course, it's only the start of the process. There's a tremendous amount that will be done, and in many ways that's the exciting part.
Just to be clear on specifics on that, as you are aware, Team Oracle have a planning application in. That is for the eastern end of the South Basin, which will be the permanent base of Oracle USA. We are also anticipating that another team, I don't know if you want to say which team it is, will have at least, you said it, that Artemis will be here. They will begin with their AC-45 setup while we get to work to prepare for a permanent base for Artemis as well. So it looks like by end of May, probably, we'll have two full teams operating out of Manila.
In fact, some of you will see both Artemis's new AC-45 and Oracle Team USA's AC-35 are actually shaking those boats down in San Francisco this month before shipping here. So the plan is to for those teams to put those boats in the water, iron out any obvious problems with them. And there are always teething problems when you put a boat that complex in the water for the first time. So they'll be going through that process. It's a short program, about 3 weeks of sailing, and then they ship all of the infrastructure here, and there's considerable amount of infrastructure coming here, and that'll be here and starting to be constructed and established, such that the team can be fully operational by the end of April.
You just made 2 pretty major announcements too, in terms of broadcasting, and broadcasting and being sponsored.
Yeah, I thought it was something that I have a habit of doing that, unfortunately. That's right. We announced our partnership with NBC yesterday, which was an exciting announcement. NBC, of course, is one of the major broadcast contracts that we put in place, and in many ways that needed to be the first one. Well, I sort of refer to it as the foundation broadcast agreement, because a lot of the other ones flow from that. It's a very, very important market for us in the United States, and that agreement is focused around the United States. And NBC are really motivated. They of course covered the races last time, but it was a process that was very competitive. There was at least one other major broadcaster that was trying pretty hard to secure the rights. So NBC this time have made some strong commitments in terms of promoting the event and the events leading up to it. They are committed to covering all America's Cup World Series races on NBC Sports, and then the final races on the network, with some considerable promotion around those races. So it's good news for America's Cup. I think it's equally good news for Bermuda, because obviously one of the objectives with bringing the event here was to give the island some additional exposure, and that contract, of course, goes a long way towards delivering on that. So does that explain?
Well, how fast do they go, do you think?
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer your question. I think the AC-45s will go pretty fast. I understand that the standard AC-45, which is slower than the let's say the sports version, I believe Luna Rosa, who've been sailing their boat in Sardinia, I believe they've gone about 43 knots in their boat. Now the one that, as I said, the Royal Team USA and Artemis Racing will be sailing here, they could probably reach speeds into the high 40s. And then the 62s, I think, just with the technology, improvements over the last, compared to the AC-72 programs we saw in San Francisco, I think on certain points of sail they'll be faster, even though they're a smaller boat. So just because of the knowledge that's been gained since then. The AC-45s, actually, the front section of the boat and the back section of the boat come off them, and they fit into a 40-foot container. So they all pack up, and that's the boat because of that, that's the boat that gets used around the world. So they get shipped, they start off, as I said, they're the boat that start off in Italy this year, go to Portsmouth in the UK, and then go to Gothenburg in Sweden, and then the fourth race is here in Bermuda. And there'll be a series of races in 2016 as well. Two of the races that we already know about that have already been contracted are the event in Chicago in June, and the event in Portsmouth again, where we're going back, and the other events are currently being negotiated out to bid now for the 2016 series. So that's the standard AC-45-1 design. All the teams race the same boat. That's the boat that will come here, that will be first raced here in Bermuda later this year, in October this year. Okay? Then we have the boats that will be raced here in Bermuda for the America's Cup race. Right? That is, and what we call an AC62. That's a boat where you've got a rule where all the boats are the same length, the same width, the same weight, the same wing or mast or sail proportions, right? And the way I would describe it, the same sort of power source. But you can play with the shapes within that. For example, the foils that lift the boat out of the water, they might be subtly different shapes. They might be different chord lengths, slightly different widths, slightly different shapes in terms of, the curvature in the boards. So there's some flexibility and there's a design aspect to those boats. There is no design aspect to the AC45. They are what we call one design, all the same. Right? So does that clarify your point? Now, and because they're 62 feet long, with the wings that are, I actually don't know the length of the wings, but they're large. They're much more difficult to ship around the world. So it makes it impractical. And frankly, you need the whole preparations over in dockyards. That's really aimed at the AC62s. You need a lot more space. There's more complexity in terms of the launching facilities and so forth. They're just a bigger, more complex boat. Frankly, they're a lot more powerful.